Are you ready for the weekend yet? We have events, news, and a guest for you to enjoy this Lake Life weekend. Hello, and welcome to this week's Lake Life Weekend podcast. If the weather is right, or the forecast, we will have around 70 degrees this upcoming weekend. So I think there's no excuse anymore for you not to explore lake life. Come to the cabin and get it ready if you haven't done so yet. Or if you're still looking for a cabin, you should drive around and check out some open houses and find some nice spots to fall in love with if you're still dreaming of lake life. So I just encourage you to enjoy lake life, and I think that's why you also found our podcast. Thank you very much. You can read everything on www.lakelifeweekend.com, and you will find updates, the news, and you can submit to this podcast. You can also, I think, if you found it on iTunes or on Podbean, you can subscribe it. It's great that you have found us, and I sure hope you appreciate what we're doing. Email us to, please, hello@lakelifeweekend.com if you have some things to share. And what was this a week ago? My propane almost went out, and I thought I will survive this spring season without refilling it. But the weather proved me wrong, and I had to order another charge of my propane tank. And I think that's finally over. I think everything is springing, popping. We really have some good things going, and the 72 degrees coming up will really. Don't forget the sunscreen, though. By the way. That's actually, I have a feeling that a lot of people underestimate. Our sun here is so extremely strong. I guess you know it because it's so warm. But the sunscreen is one of the most important protection that we need, especially for little kids. And my son, I guess, is really sensitive. I get the 50 kids Neutrogena or whatever their name is. It has been really good. So anyways, I know I'm not your father or your mother or your doctor, but I sometimes feel that people do forget it. I have one in every car, like a sunscreen tube or whatever. So yeah, maybe we see each other here this upcoming weekend. I think most of the restaurants are open. The Long Bridge is now open year round anyways. We know Hotel Shoreham open, Zorba is open. A lot of places where you can sit outside. You know, Parham even has a little brewery. I don't know if you knew that. There's a destination. Parham has a really cool small brewery, and they have a beer garden. They pretty much have and there's a lot of pine trees. It's called Disgruntled. The name is a little bit unique, let's say, but the beer is actually really good, and I love that beer garden. It kind of really feels European. You sit in those pine trees, and really cute. So also maybe worth a trip to check out in Parham this weekend if you're around. Speaking of Parham, let's talk some news, business news. Central Market of Detroit Lakes actually buys Dean's Country Market in Parham and New York Mills. That's quite an acquisition, and I'm in real estate and business brokering, and that's an interesting transaction. After 45 years in business, Dean Simpson of Dean's Country Market in Parham and New York Mills sold his business to owners of Central Market and Detroit Lakes. Dean Simpson stated that by selling the business, he's able to spend more time with his family, but will continue to be an active community member, serving as a director of United Community Bank, hospital board member, and West Central Initiative Foundation board member. A full article is in the Parham Focus news or paper. You find a link on our website too. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then here's some news. New visitor center was showcased at the annual Walk of Glendalough event at Glendalough State Park. The Walk of Glendalough event raised almost $12,000 to go towards an outdoor seating area, archery equipment, and group-sized pedestal grills for the park. That's good. That's good improvements. Attendees were able to go on a large tour, bird viewing, and had food and pizza available throughout the day. The park manager said it was one of the largest events they have had and are happy to do the turnout of the people. There's a full article at the Fergus Falls Journal, and maybe you can check out that state park also on one of your road trips. I actually did a road trip this past weekend too. I had a visitor, a passenger, and we did a really interesting road trip. One of my favorite routes again, and it was beautiful. It was grayed out. I think I didn't go too fast this time. Watching my passenger there, but it's road trip time. There were even some bikes out and really inviting. So next road trip for you, maybe Glendalough State Park. I actually have not been there myself. I gotta find that on a map. Remember my little map? I'll pull that up again and find it, and then I'll tell you about that. Other good news here: wood ducks are back in Lakes Country. The wood duck population in Lakes area began to plummet, leading to regulated hunting, habitat management, and strategically placed nesting boxes in breeding ranges. We have now seen that the wood duck population make a comeback, but we as landowners and users who enjoy outdoor recreation need to keep these birds in mind when we are out and about. Stay informed on wood ducks and their habitat needs and population management by visiting the Minnesota DNR websites. You'll find a link on our Wknd page too. And then another interesting, if you're visiting, you're not residing here, hotel alternative for vacation in Lakes Country. I know we have a few hotels that are available, and actually a dream in the Fergus, Minnesota area is to have a hotel motel close to the lake, though this is not happening anytime soon, most likely. But there's a couple lake residents who decided to offer their own hospitality services by renting out their homes to guests. So we first of all have some resorts in the area here, Long Lake and Rose Lake, but then there's Airbnb and VRBO options right in Fergus, where you can rent short-term, I guess, like a house for your family for an escape to the area. So you can find an article on the Frazee Forum, link through our website, or you go on Airbnb and VRBO. I think that's really good. So yeah, that's some news updates. Then events this weekend. I think I mentioned it last time. The Richwood Winery here north of Detroit Lakes by Buffalo Lake, and it's opening May 5th. And has an opening reception, I would say, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. open house, so to say. So you may want to check that out. Richwood Winery opens for the year this May 5th. And then also May 5th, there's a concert at Shooting Star. Styx is the band. Styx will be playing at Shooting Star Casino Friday 5th. And they will play a wide range of music of all styles. So I suppose they're a cover band. I never have heard of them, to be honest, but it's at Shooting Star Casino in Menomen. Show is from 8 p.m. to 9:30. And then Fergus Falls, there's a Prometheus bike show May 6th and 7th. That would be, I guess, Saturday, Sunday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. The 13th annual Prometheus bike show and Motor Mayhem at the Big Wood Event Center in Fergus Falls will showcase motorcycles, cars, trucks, tractors, including a fundraiser and food drive. And then in the Alexandria area here, the next tip, Sparkling Sundays at Carlos Creek Winery. There's another one if you want to go further south. May 7th, noon to 2, every Sunday until May 14th. I guess that's 2 Sundays, haha. So 7th and 14th, or I have a misprint here. Maybe it's June. I have to check onto that. Carlos Creek Winery in Alexandria will have an all-you-can-eat drink, mimosas, bagels, and muffins brunch, and they have a whole variety of newspapers for you to enjoy during that time. So yeah, I think that was a little news update, a little event update, and today we actually have a really interesting guest speaker, one of the best news attractions to the area, the Detroit Lakes Mountain, or the Detroit Mountain, Detroit Mountain. We have Jeff Stanley speaking. He's the general manager, and he will introduce us into the year-round Detroit Mountain recreational area and what it features, what it all brings to the community. And stay tuned. Listen to this. Well, hello. I'm here now with Jeff Staley from Detroit Mountain recreational area, as you probably know. And I'm excited. Thank you for coming, and welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. The mountain is a large monument in the area, and I'm really excited to have Jeff here today. He probably does not remember, but I was actually, I saw him for the very first time probably 3 years ago with my son Harry on the lake at the polar plunge, and there was still everything in preparations. You had 3 displays there, and you were introducing the project to the public for the very first time. And I had a dialogue with you, and I was really excited. I was new to the area. I just relocated to Detroit Lakes, and I was looking forward to something to happen. You had a little hill on the ice, and I think there was a little sledding going on. And my son Harry was only like 5, and we had a really great day. I remember that very much. So I was, and now it's all present. So tell me, how long has it been preparing? How long was the preparation for opening it up? Did it take 5 years? Or?
Sure. Yeah, I remember that. I have a good memory. That was 2013, and we created a little mini tubing hill on the lake. So we had a friend with a skid steer and pushed up a pile of snow and some of the old tubes from the original facility we were using. So
it was even historic equipment.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So the group that got together formed in 2010. So the project has been going on since then. Certainly there was lots of ideas tossed around with individuals in the community, trying to figure out a way to get the mountain reopened. But really it picked up traction in 2010.
2010. And you as an individual, and you're the general manager of the facilities today, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so you run the operation. And did you come as a part of the group, as a volunteer? Were you then hired? What's your background before and until 2010, 2013?
Sure. Yeah, I was with the group originally in 2010, so I'm one of the founding members of the nonprofit Detroit Mountain Recreation Area, and was formerly the president of the group until being hired as the general manager
So
just prior to opening.
You're a founding member?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
Yep. And my background, I was working as a human resource manager at Lake Shirts at the time of being involved with this, but my degree is in Parks and Recreation Administration from Colorado State University.
Really?
So this is my background.
Perfect fit.
I do have a couple of years experience working at a ski area, at Winter Park ski area in Colorado, and have worked for the City of Fort Collins Parks and Rec Department as well. So, the recreation field is my field of study and what I'm passionate about.
Interesting. Are you a Colorado native?
I am not a Colorado native. I am a New York native.
Oh, really?
Well, I was born in Virginia, but grew up in New York and moved to Colorado for college.
In the Catskills Mountains? Where did you grow up in New York?
Western New York, Rochester, New York.
Rochester, okay. Yeah, I've been a couple of times to New York, not only New York City, but I've been in the Catskill Mountains. One of my friends was a foreign exchange student there while I was here. So anyways, so you're
as Minnesota is, it's a beautiful state. It's
yeah.
not all New York City like people think. It's a much bigger state than that, and very similar to Minnesota in topography and terrain and climate.
Yep. No, I know that. So interesting. So you're coming Virginia, New York, East Coast, and then Colorado college, and then you settled in the middle of it all in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And you arrived when, if I may ask?
Well, my wife and I met while working at Winter Park Resort, and my wife is originally from Detroit Lakes. So we moved to Minnesota in 1996. And lived in Minneapolis for about 10 or 11 years before moving to Detroit Lakes.
Okay. So, so you're here 10 years now in Detroit Lakes?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And then employed lake shirts, and then also a big supporter, I believe, of the mountain, at least from the private individuals there. So you have been engaged for the past 7 years, or shortly after you arrived, 2010, and then 13 opened the mountain, or 14?
14, November of 2014.
Okay, so yeah, we have 3 years, three winters behind us.
Correct. Yep.
And so tell us a little bit of, was it very difficult? Just short, it must have been a challenge to plan and prepare, picking up a historic site, as historic as it can be. How old is the site? When was it first used?
Yeah, it was not an easy task from the point of the idea to actually turning on the lifts and starting to send people up the hill. So that's a story in and of itself, certainly. The history of Detroit Mountain, it was family owned and operated, since the 50s, and a group of NDSU engineering students really get to receive credit for first skiing out at the site, and asking the landowner if they could cut some skiing runs and put in a rope tow. So that group started as the Holiday Ski Club. And we've got a great storyboard within our lodge, that talks about kind of the first skiers out there through the Beckerus family that owned and operated it for many years.
Interesting. So there was a group, and holiday skiers, because they came through Christmas to their families, and then they wanted to do something.
Yeah, I would assume. I've met a couple of the individuals.
Oh, really?
The majority of them are in their 80s now. Some are deceased. But I'm not really sure. I guess I never asked that question specifically, why they chose the name the Holiday Ski Club. But you're probably right on track where the group got together over the holidays and
they escaped the family. No. No, interesting. Okay, so in the 50s you said.
Yep.
So 60 years ago, we had the initial beginnings of a Detroit Mountain, and then it was owner occupied from a family. Since that till when did they close?
Yeah, it had changed hands a couple times, and eventually closed in roughly 2004.
Okay.
So it had been closed for 10 years before our group started gaining traction and getting the movement started to reopen it. So I think that was a big benefit for us, in that a decade had gone by.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of the nostalgia, or the just not being able to use the facility, the weight of that kind of sunk into everybody, that, boy, we wish this was back in operation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But I mean, I've been there only a handful of times, unfortunately, but I have been there with Harry on the sledding, on the Bunny Hill, and we also tried some of the hills. I'm not a real skier, so I like it because it's not too steep, so it's right down my alley. And my son is very young, so it's perfect. I'm not scared that he it's a good for beginning stages. So I enjoy it, and I love the facilities, and it's something really huge, and I get that. So tell us a little bit about, like, let's speak about winter. Let's also speak about summer, though. And I'm really interested in goals. After 3 winters, you probably have an estimate. Like you must have had goals. And did you meet those, like visitorship? How has it been a success? I think it did, but has it really been a success so far?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question it has been a success. And, that success came from, just what I was saying earlier, that people missed it for a decade.
Yep.
The kind of the overwhelming theme when we were bringing this back was that, people told stories of either learning to ski at the area themselves, or parents and grandparents talking about teaching their children to ski at the area. So, that's what,
memories.
Those are the memories that people have. And, like you were saying with your son, it's a perfect area to teach kids how to ski. It doesn't have a lot of vertical elevation, but there's certainly some very steep terrain there. But it's an area where there's a great variety, and there's just a perfect place to learn how to ski. And really, as an industry, 75% of the people that claim themselves as skiers learn to ski on an area, similar in size to Detroit Mountain.
Okay.
You find very few people that say, yes, I learned how to ski at Vail, or I learned how to ski at Aspen.
Yeah.
Yes, you travel there and you vacation there and you ultimately ski there, but
once you can really take advantage of it, because long slopes, difficult, could be scary. No, I hear you. I get it.
And we've had goals from the beginning. Obviously, that's very important to us, and that was part of our planning processes, to determine, what number of visitors we would have each season, and how to be profitable. So we have exceeded, our initial goal was 25,000 visits. We have, far exceeded that each season that we have been open. So yeah, very, very successful. And, we've made some improvements each season as well because of that success.
Okay, you were able to reinvest already.
Exactly. So after the first season, we had a rope tow in our beginner area, and that was just very difficult for small children and inexperienced to use, and we were able to purchase and install a magic carpet lift, which is the ski up, kind of the moving concourse type, and that just made the learning area that much better, because it eliminated some of that frustration that people experience, and that's something you want to remove through the learning process. You want the right amount of challenge without all the added frustration. So learning to ski and going downhill is challenging enough. You don't want challenge to come trying to get up the hill as well.
That's true. Let's not start right there with the frustration.
So we made that improvement after the first season, and then after the second season, we relocated our tubing area. Because after the first season, we found it just wasn't large enough to support the demand that we had for it. So we increased the size, relocated and doubled the size of the tubing facility, and added another warming lodge to support that
another
traffic.
Building.
Yes. So that happened, and then we cut additional ski runs as well to open up more downhill skiing terrain. So both great improvements, after the second season, and now we feel like we are in a good spot to kind of get comfortable in the operation now that we can support the demand of the tubing, and we've added some additional trails so we can continue to support the demand of the skiers as well.
So I didn't even know that you grew that much. I knew there was the tubing improvements. I read that, but I didn't know you even cut more trails for the skiing. Interesting. So how many, like on a good day or on an average day, let's say on an average winter day, ski day, how many people on the premises?
On a weekend day, on an average weekend day, we will have anywhere from 800 to 1,000 visits per day.
Wow.
Our maximum so far has been 1,800 visits in a single day.
Wow.
And we've got, the major holiday weekends. It's not uncommon to have 1,300, 1,500. But on the non-holiday weekends, I would say the average is 800 to 1,000, depending on, what the temperature is like and what else is going on in the community. So, and that's a comfortable...
That's the next question. Is it comfortable for the visitor? So no long wait. Is it flowing smoothly?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the first season, the wait, to get a tube, it might have been 4 hours that we were booked up. And now we've got triple the number of tubes, more than triple the number of tubes, and literally on any weekend you can come up and walk up and get a tube.
Okay.
And since we doubled the size of it, you've got plenty of terrain to slide, and there's no problem there.
Okay.
And the old tubing area, we took advantage and created a second terrain park, with different ride-over features, rails and boxes and things like that.
Is that in use?
Yes. Yeah,
I'm extremely scared of that.
Yep.
Like I just see my back broken or something like that. But
yeah,
so
admittedly, it's for the younger, the younger crowd. Not that we're old, but and then because we had that rope tow from the old beginner area, we modified the motor on that, and we added that rope tow into that second terrain park that we have. So we feel like we've made some great decisions that benefited both the tubing public and population, as well as the skiing and snowboarding side, and really feel now that we're comfortable, for the next, few years, and kind of let the business settle in. And, we've got plans, that we're discussing as a board and a group, increasing the size of the lodge and, that sort of thing. But we really feel like we're in a comfortable spot now where we're not trying to get ahead of the demand.
Good things take a while.
Yeah.
So very interesting. I'm fascinated. To make it run so smooth on an average day, how many supporters? What's your staff? Like, is it 35 people behind the scenes? Is it 55 people? Like, how many employees? Like on a regular day? So a visitor usually doesn't see what's all happening. There's an operator for the lift. There's how many people work at you?
Well, we've got about 150 employees through the winter season.
Oh, wow.
And, the majority of those are part-time individuals. So those are folks that may be retired, might be school-age kids, really just, want to work out there to be part of the atmosphere and the excitement. Treat it more as a hobby, especially like some of our ski instructors. And on any, on a weekend day, we probably have about 50 people on staff at any one time. It takes 2 operators for each of the lifts that we have, one at the top, one at the bottom, and then there's some roving employees that help check tickets or provide breaks for employees, and that we've got the full staff inside the lodge for both the food and beverage as well as the ticketing and the rentals, and the tubing staff. So
quite an operation. But like one thing that is new, I think, since reopened is the year-round use, correct?
Right.
So we have skiing and cross-country skiing, downhill skiing, cross-country skiing. We know we have all that in the winter, and that I think is just because Lake Lev is year-round, and I always say Lake Lev is not just during the summer months. Lake Lev is year-round also in the winter with groomed snowmobile trails, with the mountain now, with a lot of ice fishing, anything. So not just blue water, but also if there's ice, there's also water underneath. I always say that's kind of like how I see. But now the good thing on the flip side, there's even more in the summer than one believes. So there's trails, and you do heavily mountain biking.
Right. And before we leave winter, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that, part of that number of employees that we have, or folks working out there in a given day, we also have a volunteer ski patrol group, that provides, first aid service to people. So, we could have a dozen ski patrol on staff, and again, those are all volunteer folks. They go through an extensive 100-hour training to be certified as an outdoor emergency care technician.
Okay.
And, we've got doctors on staff, teachers, professors, people in the community. So that is a great service that they provide for us. And then one thing we didn't touch on that leads right into the summer is that we also rent fat bikes in the wintertime, and we groom trails specifically for fat tire bikes.
Really?
So we have a small snowmobile with a pull behind roller that grooms and packs the trails, and then you can winter mountain bike or fat bike.
How many people do that?
That's a much smaller number.
Yeah.
We've probably had, rough count, 75 or so that kind of come out to do that activity. But it's really fun. It's just, for those that snowshoe or cross-country ski, and they actually get out into the woods away from some of the noise and stuff. It's just a really enjoyable experience to be out in the middle of the woods in winter, especially when it's a brisk day and the sun is shining. It's just really neat. There's so many tracks and stuff that you see through the snow that the wildlife, are running around out there that you don't necessarily see in the summertime.
No evidence.
No evidence of it, right? So that's a really fun and unique thing that we provide in the wintertime.
And I good interference here. How many miles? Not the downhill. Now I forgot. Cross country skiing. Is it 10 miles of cross country skiing? 5?
We've got about 5 kilometers of cross country skiing. That's the funny thing is Nordic skiing always goes by kilometers.
Of course.
And
I'm a K guy.
Right. And mountain biking is still on the mileage side, so we still go back and forth between that. But we've got about 5 kilometer of specific Nordic ski trail, and then we've got about 10 miles of mountain bike trail on property. In the winter time, again, we groom about 3 miles or 5K of bike trails as well.
On top of the 5K Nordic?
Correct, yeah. The Nordic ski trails are separate from the winter fat biking trails.
So we have at least 10K of trail system besides the hill, the mountain, the downhill, I was going to say.
Correct, yeah. We have 350 acres, 200 that is owned by the City of Detroit Lakes, operated by Detroit Mountain Recreation Area, and then Detroit Mountain Recreation Area leases another 150 acres with trails. So it's a fairly good sized property.
It's really large. And so now we are close to shut down winter and prepare for summer, and like we have a month or something where things need to be catched up and prepared. So now what's coming now? Now is mountain bike. Is there also, can I just hike?
Yeah. So now we actually are just going to be opening up the trails this coming weekend. And so we're in the mud season right now as the snow continues to melt. We still do have snow out on the hill. So there's still piles out there, and still drying out from that. We've had some of our staff out clearing the mountain bike trails, so they're taking care of any
branches,
downed limbs and trees, and going out with a rake and a leaf blower and kind of clearing it up. and we'll be ready to open. So we try to open as early as we possibly can in the spring, and that's really just a matter of, once the frost is out of the ground, once the trails dry out a little bit, and that we're not going to be leaving ruts and creating more work for ourselves, we open the trails up, and the bike trails, hiking trails will remain open into November. And we typically close our trails for hunting season, just because we have neighboring property owners that hunt on the land. So we try and keep our traffic at a minimum so we're not disturbing their hunt, and for safety as well. So we've got the biking trails they'll be opening up, and we encourage people to come out and hike as well. They can hike on the biking trails. The bikers have the right of way on the hiking or on the biking trails. If you mountain bike on a hiking trail, the hikers have the right of way, but these are specifically bike trails, so it goes in reverse.
Oh, we have two designated trails.
No, they're the same, but there's some places out there that have primarily hiking trails, and if you bike on them, you've got to yield to the hikers.
Yeah.
And then, but you can hike on the bike trails, you can hike on the Nordic ski trails, you can hike on the ski hill itself. We've got people that come out and use it as a workout. So they hike up and down the hill. In the summer months, the community center has a boot camp that they do out there in the mornings, that they're running up and down the ski hill. So there's just it's kind of your preference of what type of workout and experience you want. And the one things, obviously people have to be mindful of in the summertime in Minnesota is that we have bugs.
Yeah.
So the Nordic ski trails and the bike trails are in fairly thick wooded areas. So the bugs can present a problem if you're not prepared for that.
Yeah, as part of our life, I would say. But also, speaking of events, you have a handful of events every year. Like you have a plunge for skiing, but like in the summer, do you have concerts, open air? Didn't you have something?
Yep. We do a couple events each summer season. Yeah, our funnest event, the one I like the best, you just said, was the pond plunge, or the spring splash, we call it, and that's kind of to celebrate the end of the ski season, where we create a big pool. It's about 20 feet across, 20 feet across, and about 40-50 feet long. Skiers and snowboarders attempt to cross it, so they get a running start at it, and they have to ski across it.
How deep is it?
It's about 3.5 feet deep. So
you get wet.
yeah, and there's some good wipeouts and crashes and stuff, and that's pretty common for most ski areas, as they put together that pond skim, pond plunge, spring splash, whatever they name it. So that's such a fun event, and I love that because it just gets everybody involved in it, the community as well. We have such a huge draw that come out that aren't skiers or snowboarders, and they just come out to watch it. If you visit our Facebook page, there's lots of great photos of really fun costumes and crashes and things like that. So but moving into the spring and summer season, we do a couple events. Some are more our events, some were just the host site for. For example, in May, we've got the birding festival that Detroit Lakes puts on. So they use our facility as kind of their launching point each morning for their birding excursions. So it's fun to have that group out. They've been doing that for the last couple of years, and they'll be there again this May. And again, we're a community asset. We want to bring as many people and as many users out to the facility as possible. Typically, they don't bird at our site, although we certainly have lots of wildlife out there, but they go into the prairies and the marshes and things like that, and looking for those exotic species and those rare rare birds. So that's coming up. We host a mountain bike race in May as well, called the Shakedown, and that's part of the Minnesota Mountain Bike Series race. Detroit Lakes is lucky enough to have 2 of those races out of the 12 races, our race at Detroit Mountain, and then the Laddie's Lope at Maple Log. So that's in September. And, moving into June, this year we are hosting a Kiwanis event at the mountain. I think it's still kind of under name creation, but blues and barbecue. So they're going to do a barbecue out there, and then they've got Lamont Cranston band coming. So that's Friday, June 30th. And that'll be a new event for us. We're kind of looking forward to that. Again, we're just the host site for it. And then July, not really anything heavy in July. July is really typically that lake time, and it's tough for us to compete, with the events out there in July. We are open 7 days a week for mountain biking and rental and things like that. So we're still in operation. We just don't have any signature events happening at that time. And then in August, since the first season, before the first season opened, we've done a Music on the Mountain event. And we've, the first couple of years we had, our local talent. We had a band called Sagebrush and another local band, Hardwood Groove, play. So they played the first couple seasons, and our board wanted to try and bring in a bigger name, so last summer we had the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, which have been around for decades and really well known, and that was a great event. We had about 1,000 people come out for that, and then I can announce on your podcast if you like.
Yeah.
Who's coming for this year's Music on the Mountain?
Who's the star?
This has not been announced anywhere.
No? Okay.
Literally has not been announced anywhere.
Let us know.
So we are bringing in Sawyer Brown this year, and Sawyer Brown played a number of years ago at Bash on the Beach, and was just a sellout crowd. So he's a great country star, and so that should be another big hit for that. Yep, Friday, August 25th, I believe, is the date of that. So those are our big events during the summer. Of course, we have some other races and events and stuff like that, that people should check our calendar for. But those are the ones I've talked about so far are really the don't miss. If you're in town, you've got to come out for those.
We will highlight those each weekend, and we'll re-announce those in the month of June and August and forthgoing. But how do people find you? Of course, Google, but it's DetroitMountain.com?
Yep, DetroitMountain.com.
Okay.
So we've got a great website with all of our information. So our hours of operation, our rental prices, and a calendar of events and all of that stuff. We're also on Facebook, fairly popular on Facebook, and that seems to be a good avenue for communication. Followers? We have about 9,500 followers.
That's big.
Yeah, so we do a lot through Facebook, and then kind of follow the Instagram and Twitter thing as well. Yeah. But by far the Facebook page is the most popular.
It's the right medium. Yeah. The social aspect. You have a social destination. So good. Well, I think we learned a lot, and it's really exciting. And it probably will not be the first and last time that we meet. Maybe speaking right before another big event or season updates. I think that was great. I'm really happy that you came, Jeff, and shared a little bit more of the significance of the history and the size. And I really like to learn that there's so many helping hands involved, to understand that at peak almost 2,000, but on average 800 to 1,000 visitors to handle, not only handle, but to assist, and then also the rescue. Like if in the event that something happens, that we have, of course, doctors, first aid. So it's a challenge. I'm sure. It's what a great asset to not only local Detroit Lakes, but the whole region, going from like in a 75-mile radius, most likely. That's probably the area where you attract individuals, or even more. And I like it. I'm an emotional supporter. I hope to visit more often in the future as Harry grows and such. And I'll make note of the August event. And I'm excited. I'm probably going to try the mountain biking. Harry and I got little bikes, and we were talking about that last year already, and we'll definitely make a swing by soon. And and do you want to add anything else for the audience?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we just welcome the opportunity to share, our story, what we do out there, every opportunity we can. And, we are surprised every day by the number of new faces that we see. Yeah. So that tells us, one, that the word is still getting out, that we're open and in operation. But we're also excited that there's just a lot of new people experiencing it. Still growing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, the more people we have out participating in those outdoor activities, getting out and staying active, the better. I mean, we just love to see it.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for coming. Thanks again. And DetroitMountain.com to research all necessary information for your visit. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Dirk.
Yeah, this was already our newest episode of the Lake Life Weekend podcast. We sure hope you enjoyed it. Tune in again next week with another great guest and updates. Always check out our website, lakelifeweekend.com. And if you have some comments, please feel free to email us at hello@lakelifeweekend.com. And you have a wonderful weekend ahead.